I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Welcome to News Cafe. Tonight, we turn to the movies as we celebrate 1 decade of the Cinemalaya Independent Film Festival. We'll be talking to filmmakers from the Director's Showcase and New Breed categories. We start off with filmmakers Carlos Siguion-Reyna and Bibeth Orteza, whose film Hari ng Tondo is a finalist in the Director's Showcase category. Good evening and welcome to News Cafe.
Good evening. Thank you for guesting us.
And Bibeth, welcome back. Well, it was great having you.
I'm glad to be here again.
Now with your other half.
Yeah, so I'm the one now who's more comfortable than he because I've been here.
Okay, so you're just gonna lay back and relax.
Yep.
Now, Hari ng Tondo. Carlos, tell us, what is this film all about?
Hari ng Tondo is it's really about trying to educate somebody and ending up educating yourself. Okay, this is about Ricardo Villena. He's a grandfather who's just recently lost his money. He's on the verge of bankruptcy, actually. He takes his grandchildren in order to, to make them stronger. They're sheltered because he wants them to be of sterner stuff. He takes them to his birthplace, which is Tondo. And only to find out and to make some painful, realizations about his own history.
Right.
And amidst the cynicism of the attitudes in the Tondo that he thought he knew.
Right.
So it's really learning some painful truths about his own history, why he left Tondo, things that he refused to confront, he finds out there.
Yeah.
So he's trying to educate his grandchildren, he educates himself.
Now, many parallelisms with your life. As you were born in Tondo, the main character is based on your father, is that right?
No, it's not based on my father. I mean, I had
inspired by
it. Basically, what connected me to the project was really my father was a great father, is a great grandfather, and his choices were not the same, and his situation and circumstances are not the same as Ricardo Villena. But it's just the image of my father as a father and as a granddad that really tightened my own connection with him, and kind of like it was his image that guided me through his relationship, the way he related to his own children, the way he related to his own grandchildren. That kept me centered on the character of Ricardo Villena. Although the situations are different and the choices made are different.
Right. Well, Bibeth, you wrote the script. How did you go about writing this? Were you remembering some of the stories maybe of Carlos, or what were the things that really inspired you?
Well, it's a family story. It's going back to roots and seeing these things. But among the things that triggered the making of Hari ng Tondo for me was in about 2 years ago, Carlitos' student from NYU, JP, John Paul Su, he's Phil-Am, but born and raised in Divisoria. He went here to do a movie about a garbage scavenger who was trying to have her granddaughter adopted by a foreign couple, and he chose me to play the role of a 70-year-old woman. And we shot for 4 days in Tondo.
Yeah.
And then I saw a part of Tondo. Because the Tondo, the people think that they know is the Tondo of the mahirap, but the nobility of the people there.
Right.
That part of Tondo where we shot in kasi was a part that was proud that they didn't eat their dogs. Ay, hindi ho kami kumakain ng aso namin kasi mga alaga ho namin. And
civilized.
Yeah. So mahirap sila, Their toilet was an open space, but they love their dogs. So yung ganong part about yung Tondo na may dignidad is what I wanted to go back to also.
Right.
In the right.
And that they fight. They really explain they have their situation, but they will not allow themselves to be victims.
Right.
Yeah.
So that spirit,
which
is I think different from it's a side that is not often featured. Usually na-feature yung kawawa kami ganyan. Hindi naman it's not necessarily like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, you were gone for 14 years, no?
From movie making.
From movie making,
from
right?
Feature film.
That's right. So what brought you back to this? Is it the story? What exactly lured you to this?
Well, several things, but I think the story I identified with a lot of the attitudes among the characters in the film. Kasi this film is pretty, the scope is not. It's small naman, pero because there's a big cast. It's about I think, how many are they? 14, 15?
14. You have
but so it's a big cast with different it's different characters reflecting different, the different attitudes in that community and different classes in the same community. So parang may pagka, I mean, it felt to me like a variety na parang I was like in a 19th century novel in a way, but it's a modern sensibility. And I identified so much with a lot of the characters' attitudes, for instance. And ako, I mean, there's a contradiction of attitudes inside me, no? Like yung the mocking sensibility of yung mga taga-Tondo against mga saviors, and then yung mga, mga self-styled messiahs, and then also the pagka-messianic mission of the grandfather, and then the children who were kind of like the grandchildren who were just kind of like happy-go-lucky and stuff like that, and then also the parents' own indifference to things that are happening outside of the world, and the fighting spirit of the people who were left behind. So, sa akin, all of these attitudes, I feel, contradicting also within me. So I kind of felt, I empathize with all of them. That's why I really love the characters, and I like the world, and I like the story. What happened to the central characters in the film? I mean, there's about 7 or 8 one central character, but there are important subplots going on. Right. So for me, that's one of the reasons that attracted me to the material. The other thing is, it allowed me, I realized I could work with, there's a great, the staff is great, the cast is talagang energetic, and they're all, everybody's putting out, putting out really professional work. And so, and the actors are from film, TV, and theater. Yeah. And then, of course, the last one, guys, because it was a chance for me to connect with my dad again. And then family, and work with members of the family. I'm working with my son, Rafa, here, with Chris, my inaanak. Chris Villonco is my niece, na inaanak ko din. And then, so there are a lot of families working here. It's, on screen and off, behind the scenes. Yes. There's
we have Isa Sigera there, who I first worked with. Was a little girl in OK Cafe Rico. And then you have there the Eric Kison, who was part of his first film after Mrs.
This is his third
so
film.
Young,
And Eric he's like a brother to me, given my relationship with his dad.
Yes, you're very close to Dolphy.
So, and then the other supporting actors, there were people that my son had worked with in his first stage play with Grease. It was like a big family, even down to yung aming director of photography, si Jay Abelio. He posted this on Facebook. Yeah. Jay said that when he was a college student, he watched this movie that made him so badly want to be making movies too. And that movie was Hihintayin Kita sa Langit.
Well, imagine that he gets to work with you. Wonderful.
And then full circles. And back to Dolphy and Robert Arevalo. Robert in the movie says a line that I actually filched from the Dolphy bio.
What was that?
I grew up in a house my father rented in Concha Street. Sabi ni Dolphy, tatlong kwarto. May silong na mababa. I really got that. I went back to my file of the bio.
You wrote his bio.
I took that out and then I put that. That was my little bit of cinema verite, because also of another little known fact because Robert Arevalo and Dolphy are related.
Ah, is that right?
Because Dolphy's Lola, his father's mother, was an Ilagan from Bulacan, which is where the Ilagans hail from. Because Robert Arevalo is a grandson of Hermogenes Ilagan, the father of Filipino Zarzuela, and a distant relation of Francisco Balagtas. I was teasing Robert the other day. Uy, kamag-anak ko pala si Balagtas. So it was a dami-daming little bits and
wonderful
pieces about families and connections. And really kasi Tondo talaga, palagi mong naalala na Tondo is always highly spoken in our history books. Because it's the cradle of the brave.
But
talaga.
Now it's seen, unfortunately, in the negative
yun
side.
Na, talaga. And marami nagsasabi, ang Tondo, ang kauna-unahang Forbes Park ng Maynila, and all of these things. So let's look back at Tondo now.
Now, in terms of connections, though, what was it like working together again? I mean, you've done many films together before. What was it like? How different is this one compared to your other?
I think it was
still annoying.
Still the same, but I think it was just more. Well, partly because, this is like, the schedule is so compressed, and this was made, this is so unlike anything I've done before, in the sense that, the shooting schedule, I mean, I went from shooting movies from 28 to 30 days in the past. And then this is the first feed, and then from there, dropped to 12 days shooting schedule, considering the large cast, and we're dealing with 3 actors who are in various teleseries, soaps, soap operas on TV, and we're dealing with, we can't shoot Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But it was really, it was challenging. But it's short on schedule. But that's why we did a lot, as much as we could, also within a short pre-production period. So as much of it as possible was oiled. Before shooting, so it went pretty smoothly.
Always very hectic.
I think it went pretty smoothly considering the challenges.
Right. Well, hold that thought, Bibeth. We'll get more cuento from you about this film. Time for a quick break. When we return, I'll talk to Carlos and Bibeth about Cinemalaya then and now. Welcome back to News Cafe. We have Carlos Siguion-Reyna and Bibeth Orteza at the table. All right, we're celebrating 10 years of Cinemalaya. How has it changed, do you think, over the years, from when it first started up to today, Bibeth?
Well, in the press conference that we attended, we found out that in the first Cinemalaya, there were only 5 tables that came over to attend that press con. And the one that we went to, the entire the first floor lobby of the CC booth, talagang punong-puno, as in literal na wala kang mahulugang karayom, as I say. Talagang punong-puno, and you saw the media there, so you could really see that it's done well through the years.
Well, and they started out only CCP screenings, I think. Now it's expanded gradually to include, let's say, screenings in Ayala Cinemas, in Metro Manila. Now I think there are 4 venues, and I think they're now planning to expand to Visayas and Mindanao.
Yeah, great. Because it's all Metro Manila
there's a hankering to have Cinemalaya films showing in Visayas and Mindanao.
That's excellent. What do you think that says about Pinoy audiences? Because there was a time when it was just really commercial, mainstream, but now independent films are really becoming in demand.
Also in demand because I think we cannot disregard the fact that cable TV stations make a steady income. I wouldn't say great box office tradition of Expendables 3, but the fact that these cable networks are going on with the business means that there's a crowd out there that's steadily exposed to indie film material from other countries. No? So dapat talagang makita na yon and ayusin.
And I think probably the supporters, the financial supporters are following. When there's more exposure and when there's a growing audience, they will put in
because that is a big issue. Very little funding.
More money to whatever. I mean, whether production or to the post-production or to the marketing and distribution. There's still challenges there, by the way. Pero it all comes, siguro, everybody's keeping in step naman, it seems.
Well, for you, for this film in particular, what were your biggest challenges coming up with this?
Funding.
It's always funding, isn't it?
We put in a little of our own money, and then friends chipped in, but some people who also were going to put in money went through personal difficulties of their own, and we couldn't anymore drag them into helping us as they had promised. But me, as somebody who just recently gone through the Cinemalaya experience, I really hope that government would see it fit to help the filmmakers of such endeavors, going through film scripts that were chosen by a group of experts, like the Cinemalaya thing, to encourage businessmen to fund these projects as tax-exempt provisions, but within limits, no? Not naman, because before you know, kung walang limitations, before you know it, this will be the next scam or the next controversy. But, let's say, what's the ceiling? What's a realistic ceiling? 8 million kung 8 million or 10 million kung 10 million.
And
but with
audited,
proper
properly
audited
audited.
and with proper receipts, you know.
Yeah.
Para lang,
And who would
lang
be on top of that? The
matulungan.
Cinemalaya Foundation.
Yeah, because they've
Foundation.
proven themselves above board naman with ano
At saka CCP.
Oh,
I mean,
and
sila
the
yung,
CCP,
those two are the
you
ones
know?
who are,
Right.
you know.
Because really, if
So
we
in that way, you don't need to get, let's say, funding from, I don't know, NCCA or other film, you know, because limited din ang budgets naman ng mga culture-related government institutions. So here, maybe to encourage private business or donors to come in and just get, make the incentive for them is a tax write-off in some way, but audited properly.
Well, how different is this from other film fests? For a time, no, from 1994 to 2006, was it every year you had a film at the Toronto Film Festival?
Film Festival,
right? How different is this film festival and our other film festivals from other countries?
In that respect, I think I think Toronto, the Toronto Film Festival, and other, I don't know, maybe the others also, they have government. I think there's some
really
government
good
funding
support,
going into the festival, I believe, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. And then, and then Korea has a good model. I mean,
Yeah,
doing
Korea
what
is a good model, and
Yeah.
I've always been reading and updating myself because Korea used to be a poor fifth in Asia. There was a time in the history of filmmaking in Southeast Asia, the Philippines was number one pa nga eh. We
Yeah.
were ahead pa nga dati of Japan and ano eh. And then, but through the recent years, first thing that Korea did was drop censorship. South Korea, no? Dropped censorship, and then encouraged big businessmen to get into the picture as tax write-offs. And then they were able to leapfrog and get ahead of China and Hong Kong. Because now Korea is the team to beat as far as all the telenovelas that they're exporting and all the films.
The way they've promoted their culture.
And they also, I think they also took advantage of the new technology. For a while, the film that was so easy to download for free on the internet were the Korean materials, because I think South Korea was so conscious of the fact that they were all over the world. They wanted to spread the culture also to the second, third, fourth down the line generations of Koreans all over. So all of a sudden now there's a Koreatown in all the places. Dati Chinatown lang yan
this is
K-pop na galore.
Galing nila
mag-promote. This is something. This is something that I wish the government would be would think about, because we were talking to years before in Toronto. We had there's a festival programmer. His name was David Overby. We were talking about. This was in the 90s. Everywhere we were going there every year from 94 to 2000. We were in Toronto. We had a film screening every year. We were talking about how come ganyan? How come what can we do to really advance in ganyan awareness? Since when he was talking about, look, China, you go. It's about exporting the culture. It's about establishing foothold of the culture in a foreign place. Like China, Japan, what do you think about? I mean, you think about Chinese food, Japanese food, ganyan, and among other things. So it's not such a big step to be thinking about Chinese culture, Japanese culture, because you're interested also in already a part of their culture, like their cuisine and ganyan, and then they're exporting the films, no?
Yeah.
So it's really, and then you can create an awareness for the country that way. They're not thinking of those things as advertisements for the country. It's just an awareness of the culture.
Yeah.
So it's something to think about. Like I think that's what Korea did also, and that's something that we with the little government help should be able to do also.
Yeah. But in terms of culture, how do you feel about the Filipino mentality itself? So you're teaching now at a university, at the New York University, but Tisch College in Singapore.
Yeah.
So looking at these different students, maybe the mindset, how would you compare other cultures to ours? And maybe this might also be playing into this whole problem.
I think, well, in New York University, in Tisch Asia, in Singapore, about 50 to, it depends on the year, 50 to 60% are US students, and the 20% from Asia, and the rest from the rest of the world, the balance from the rest of the world. They're encouraged basically to, basta, of course, the encouragement is always your personal voice. What you see wherever you are in the world, if you're a US citizen in Singapore or in Asia or let's say you're Filipino in Singapore or ganyan. It's basically what is your story? What do you see? What is your take on this, on the world that you see around you, whether it's in Singapore or other Asian countries that you're shooting in? So there's no real. They're not really told to it's not like tell a certain kind of story or tell a certain national cultural story. It's not like that. It's basically personal. It's it's your own personal take. So that's why a lot of the films that we're seeing there are like Singapore filtered through let's say an Indian student's eyes or an American student's eyes, and that, because it is individual, parang we encourage the personal voice. And I think, but that also gives us an indication also of the filmmaker's own culture.
Yes,
even if he's shooting at the story in another country. So I think that whole idea of we get to know the filmmaker, we're getting to know his culture also. Will hold, wherever he's shooting, and hindi mo matatanggal yung pagka-Filipino niya if he's shooting in America, for instance. So I think that's in that way, in that way, the personal voice should be encouraged, because that gives us a unique input from the culture of that filmmaker.
Yes. Well, personal voice, when you look at Cinemalaya, this is what they're trying to do, to really encourage the personal voice of the young filmmaker.
I'm not saying that that's a rule for everybody, but for me, because I felt that I could be more. I mean, I could be more personal about things if my own view. I could see it more clearly if it was a situation that that I knew from my own culture.
Well, great advice, because how best you can be best with things right.
But some people can can adapt easily. Ang Lee certainly is done by a lot of filmmakers can do
even
that.
of Ang Lee, I respond still.
But he's different. Yung kanyang sense and sensibility has that kind of zen
Iba pa rin yan
feeling to it.
sa Eat, Drink, Man, Woman, or
iba-ibang style talaga, Now, Hari ng Tondo, I guess we'll be seeing a different side of you guys there. So we're showing the screenings now. You can watch this not only at CCP, but also at the Greenbelt Theater, I think Greenbelt 3, Alabang Town Center, and Trinoma.
And Fairview Terraces.
That's right. That's a new one. That's a new one that's been added now. So thank you very much for your time. I know you're busy promoting this film. So all the best to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here despite your busy schedules. Look forward to having you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So thank you again, Carlito, Siguion-Reyna, and Bibeth Orteza for being here tonight. Welcome back to News Cafe. I'm now joined by Giancarlo Abrahan, director and writer of The Gitab, Ida Del Mundo, director and writer of Kana, the Dreamweaver, and the lead actor in that movie, Mara Lopez. Great to have you guys in the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Now let's start out with a very brief introduction on the film. Ida, tell us about your film, Kana, the Dreamweaver.
So, Kana, the Dreamweaver is set in South Cotabato in Mindanao, and it tells a story about the Tiboli people. And it's not really a historical film or more than a cultural film. It's just an honest love story, and it's also about the struggle for peace. And it's a coming of age of Kana, who is the main character, a Tiboli princess, and she has to make a difficult decision between following her heart and going with the one she loves, or being able to bring peace to her village, which is something also very important to her as well.
Right.
So it's meant to be like a new kind of legend of the Filipino people, of the Tibolis.
And Kana is played by Mara. Now, that was challenging for you. It only was, you had a month to learn the language, no?
Yeah, I had a few weeks. A month? Was it a month? Yeah, I think it was a month. I think it was a challenge for everyone, all the actors and the actresses involved in the film, except the Tiboli people themselves, because a lot of the other supporting roles were actual Tibolis. And for them, they already knew the language. I had the language coach, and I also had like audio tapes of the script, and we had meetings, a lot of meetings for the language.
Yeah, a lot of rehearsals.
Yeah.
So it was a challenge for the actors, definitely.
Yeah. And then by the end of the shooting, we already knew it by heart, everything. I was even throwing ad-lib lines, and she was like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "Oh, that's part of it."
Very comfortable. Well, you'll tell us more about that now. Let's go to Gian. Gian, tell us, what is the Gitab, or the Sparks, all about?
the Gitab is a love story also, but it deals with the two university professors, Issy and Jimmy Tolentino. And after 20 years of marriage, their marriage is falling apart. And then Issy, a creative writing professor, turns to a younger student for sparks in her life. And while on the other hand, Jimmy falls in love with his research. An enchanted woman named Bulan, who gives a legendary sword to great warriors. But he mistakes this legendary woman for the ghost of his former lover.
Yeah. Now, both of your films are finalists, out of the 10 finalists, no, in the new breed category. What would you say is the most challenging part of coming up with a film? You're both writers and directors, so let me ask you first, Ida.
Well, the most challenging part, I think, is, especially for me, transitioning from a writer to becoming a director. Because I always say that when you write, it's really limitless, virtually. You can do anything you imagine. But once you become a director, you have to work with so many limitations, and you have to work with what's given to you on the set. You have to work with so many other factors. So for me, it was the challenge of balancing that, kind of not compromising the vision that I had as a writer, but also bringing to screen something that's realistically, we can realistically shoot in the place.
Yeah, and that when you were writing the script, you were speaking to your father, who's also a director, right? Clodoaldo Del Mundo Jr., and you were saying, I can't write this, how are we going to direct this? But he was telling you, no limits, just do whatever you do, because it's a challenge of a scriptwriter to really
challenge everyone else in the production. And yeah, at that time, I didn't know that I would be the one directing it, so I just threw in everything that I wanted.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah,
right.
She ended up challenging herself.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And for you, Gian, how did this, I mean, what was it like? What was the biggest challenge for you?
For me, it was pretty easy because the team that I have are basically friends that I have from film school. So we already have a certain dynamic working with each other, I guess. But that also comes with a double-edged problem because when you're friends, it's hard to deal with your emotions with each other, and then also being in command. Like on set, they'd be very strict on calling me direct, but sometimes you forget that it's work, and you suddenly like get into friend zone. Friend zone at work, and I guess it gets pretty tough. Like, how do you enforce your command as director when you're working with your friends?
Barkada, I have to draw the line. Now for you, Myra, you've done a lot of commercial roles. You were in variety shows, teleseries, and you're an athlete also. You're a surfer. How is this role different from all the other ones?
It's different because I think it shows a part of the Philippines that's really unexplored. Because before this film, I didn't even know about the Tiboli people in Mindanao, and that enlightened me a lot on their culture, especially the dream weaving. There were some scenes where I actually had to do the weaving itself, and I've never done that before. Because it's
now you can weave.
It's very, no, they tried teaching me, but then it was so hard, and it's actually it's very spiritual, and it's very sacred. So you're not even allowed to touch it, because if you touch it, apparently people get sick or something like that. I actually got a cold or something. I don't know if it's from that really, but you can see the owner of the weave, the tinalak, was very stressed out, and I was the one using it, right? Because you're not allowed to play with it.
And you could really see how important that tradition is to them.
And it's important to me too, but I was required to do it in the film,
course,
so I was very scared actually. You'll see in the film that there were some scenes where I was actually weaving, because I am Kana, the dream weaver, so I had to do those things. It's also different because Kana starts as a little girl, and then it shows her growing up. So I had to play the role from like 14 years old to 25 years old, I think.
Around like 17 to
so there was a
wide range.
There was a wide range of, I think, acting involved and how to act younger. Especially for like the production design was just really big. Like every time that we have to shoot a particular scene, just dressing up will take like, I don't know,
the
10,
costumes, wow.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Took a while to...
Very interesting how this came about. You actually did a story in South Cotabato on the Tinalak Festival.
Yes.
And this is what kind of got the ball rolling. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it started out like just any media tour. And we were just enjoying ourselves, going to the festival and then sightseeing and stuff. And then we were stranded in the middle of the mountain for a night. It started raining. We were just supposed to hike down to a cave and then go back up, and that was it. But it started raining really hard, and they said it wasn't safe enough for us to go back up. So we spent the night at a small Tiboli village, and that's when it all started. That's when I really felt a certain connection with that community. And so it was dark and raining and there was no electricity, and they just started to play their instruments and dance and sing, and they really welcomed us into the community.
Wow.
So from then on, I really felt that there was something special about this culture, something special about the experience that I had there. So the movie isn't about that per se, but it was really inspired by the Tiboli people and that experience that I had.
Yeah. What about you, Gian? How did you come to this story? How did it become a reality for you?
Well, 2 years ago, I was writing Transit with Hannah, and she asked me if, like, I were to write a feature film, what I would write about. It started out as a joke. The joke was, there was this viral thing before that spread, like, people like having first-time encounters in jeeps in UP, and then sparks. And so it started out as a joke that I wanted to make a film set in UP titled Sparks, but it would be the different kind, like sparks referring to whatever is left when love is gone. So the sparks that are left. So it started out with that joke. We wanted sparks, isipin ng mga tao, kilig. But it's really about love lost. So from there, the whole story flowed. We tried imagining what kinds of professors we wanted, and then I have a fascination for fantastic things. In fact, my previous short film is about aswangs. So I really insisted on putting this mythical woman in the film as well.
Yeah. Well, both of you, of course, this is very much the great cinematography now. In terms of your styles and techniques, what would you say you apply there? Of course, here it's just looking at the beautiful scenery. Would you say that this is driven more by this dialogue, or is it the technique? What kind of technique have you employed here?
Well, I was really lucky because just the costumes and the set and Lake Cebu where we shot, it's just so beautiful that I think anywhere you put your camera, anywhere you shoot, I mean, you don't have a problem with making it beautiful and impressive. So another thing is that this is also my first full-length script. And I was supposed to write this experience as maybe a short story or something, but I think the visual aspect of the Tiboli culture and their art really pushed me to write a script about it. And I think film is the best medium for me to show their culture. So it's a very visual film. And it deals a lot with their weaving as well. So we showed a lot of the colorful aspects of their art.
Right. And in terms of the casting, I mean, Mara's perfect for the role. You really look like the princess.
Yeah.
Did you have a certain group in mind when you were writing this?
When I was writing it, no. I was sort of thinking of Jericho Rosales for the male lead, a younger Jericho. But when I saw Mara, I keep on telling her on the first day of her audition, I knew that she would be the one for that role.
But she made me suffer like, I think,
3
or 4 more
auditions.
times. I had to audition so many times.
And we want to hear that story. To hold that thought, Mara, we'll just take another short break. When we return, we'll talk to Gian, Ida, and Mara about the challenges in making these films. You're watching News Cafe. We're talking to Gian Abrahan, Ida Del Mundo, and Mara Lopez about their Cinemalaya experiences. Okay, Mara, tell us, what was that audition like for the role?
Well, the first audition was in Tagalog. She just made me do this scene with a dad, and it was a quick audition. And then when I got home, I was like, oh, I felt like I really sucked. I was talking to my mom, I felt like I didn't do well. And then I got a call back, and I was like, oh, maybe I didn't suck after all. And then the next 2 auditions were in Tivoli already. So they emailed me the script, and they emailed me the audio guide. So I basically had to learn it on my own. And then the next day, I was like, boom, there.
You got it. The cast had about, how long did you all have? A month? Was it a month or 3 months to really master?
About a
3-4
month.
weeks, yeah.
We had like maybe 4 or 5 sessions with the language coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, but they did really well. And Mara, we gave her the audio guide for the audition the night before.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that when she got to the audition, she memorized the whole thing. So I was
That's what
impressed.
nailed it. She nailed it.
Yeah.
And we're both Lasalians. Maybe that's it.
Okay, so
bias,
loyalty. Loyalty. Gian, for you, when you were thinking of the cast, did you have these guys in mind? Because you have, who is in your, you have
We have
Yula
Yula
Valdez,
Valdez
Noni
and
Buen
Noni Buen
Camino. In
Camino.
fact, you both share Noni Buen
Yeah.
Camino in both your films. So how did you come up with this, or what did you think of when you were
Well,
the cast?
Yula was one of our first choices. We had a list, and she was among that. But she wasn't available initially for the role, and then so we got another actress, and then after a few workshops, the actress backed out, and so we because of schedule problems, and so thankfully Yula was available. She was in Jezebel, and then she said, "Thankfully, Jezebel is now on land, so you can shoot me now."
Yeah.
And then we really wanted Noni to be one of the leads also for the film. So
Yeah.
we're thankful that he
Yeah.
was available and that Ida was already done
Yeah.
shooting by that time.
So scheduling is quite difficult.
Yeah.
Now, very challenging with Cinemalaya. You're given the seed money of about, what is it, 250?
500.
Sorry, 540. And then you have very little time to do this. So how do you feel about Cinemalaya? I mean, you were involved last year, weren't you, Gian? But with the Cinemalaya experience, what is it like? And of course, funding is always a problem.
Yes.
Ida, what was the experience like for you?
Well, I've been exposed to Cinemalaya since the beginning because my
Yeah.
dad actually won the first Cinemalaya
Yes.
Film Festival. So I'm familiar with it, but it's really different when you're the one who's actually
Yes.
doing the films. I think the positive thing about Cinemalaya is it really brought indie filmmaking in the Philippines to the forefront. I mean,
Right.
they were really the first to have something like this, and it really helped a lot of filmmakers. And like, I wouldn't have gotten my very first chance to direct if not for Cinemalaya.
Yeah.
But of course, there are limitations like the time that you have to shoot and to do the whole film, and the budget is always a problem, not just
Yeah.
with indie filmmaking, but I guess in filmmaking in general.
Yeah.
But they really helped us a lot, and to get our first try.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
good place for the young filmmakers like yourself, Gian.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main troubles that we had with Cinemalaya, is that it's really such a short time to develop a film, and we had such a hard time back then in transit last year, and I can't believe that I put
You
myself
went back.
through this again.
Is it the
and now as
same?
director.
Do you think it's the whole process is the same, but you kind of know the protocol now?
Well, now they're stricter with the liquidations
Yeah.
in terms of the grant. But I think I was very lucky because our producer, Paul Soriano, is very supportive, like from Transit and now in the Gita. He was really very supportive. He gives us full creative control and then gives us his full support, and he's very encouraging. Tells us that it's parang we had a lot of trouble with the scheduling. I think we were one of the last to shoot, but he was very encouraging until the very end.
Yeah,
Even if he's busy shooting his own film now.
Yeah, everybody's doing multitasking. In fact, you probably just finished. You're still kind of in post-production.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Getting there.
Almost done, just before the opening.
Almost done. Almost
Photo
done.
finish.
Yeah. Now, Mara, of course, you were the daughter of 1982 Binibining Pilipinas Universe Maria Isabel Lopez, who
Yes.
is also an actress. Did she give you tips, or would you say that it's because of her that you are where you are now?
I started really early, and that's because of her. I started really
Yeah.
early, but that was like in a kids show comedy sitcom. And then as I grew up, it was already my choice to stay in the business and to do my own thing. It's actually my second year in Cinemalaya. Last year,
right.
I did The Bushon, which is directed by
okay.
Alvin Yapan.
Yeah.
There, I had to learn Bicolano.
Wow,
And
you seem
then-
to have a gift for tongues, huh?
I also speak Japanese because I'm half
Your father
Japanese.
is Japanese,
yes.
yeah.
And yeah, I was for Cinemalaya this year because you guys were talking about Cinemalaya.
Yes, yes.
I really prayed last year after the Bushon. I was like, Lord, I really want to be part of the 10th anniversary of Cinemalaya.
Yeah.
And then this happened, so I'm very grateful.
You got it, yeah. So how do you feel about as an actress now, working in an indie film versus things like, you know, mainstream commercial?
Okay, on TV, it's really,
showbiz?
really different. On
Yeah.
TV, not really a lighter schedule. More pay, I guess. If you want to make money, yeah, you go to mainstream. And I do that so I can support the things that I love to do. Because if I don't do the mainstream, then I can't afford to do the independent
Right.
films. And if you really want to be known as an actress, if you really want to show your talent as an actress, not just here in the Philippines, but all over the world, because we
Yes.
have more recognition out of the country,
Yeah.
then you do indie. And I think a lot of mainstream actors and actresses are starting to notice that, because if you can see the cast of other Cinemalaya films this year and last year, there's
Yeah.
a lot of mainstream actors.
Yeah.
And they're good. And they're starting to realize that, okay, I need to do this so I can push myself as an actress, so I can learn more. Because
Right.
when you're working with all these different talented directors, you learn so much
Yeah,
with your craft
yeah.
and everything.
Yeah, it is.
And yeah, my mom inspired me. I want to do what she's done before. She walked the red carpet of Cannes Film Festival for Kinatay, and a Filipino director, Brillante Mendoza, won
Yes.
Best Director against all these Hollywood directors, and that's amazing. And that's
Yeah, so
something.
much talent
That's
here
something
at
Ida
this
and
table.
Gian is about to do.
You have a lot of
So
time ahead of
please,
you.
Don't
Now,
forget
there's
me.
something you really learned in Cinemalaya for you young filmmakers. What is it? So, one, even just from the proposal process, for example, for your film, when you were proposing this, it was actually Loris Guillen who encouraged you to be director.
I really wasn't supposed to direct. Like, I had no ambition of directing at all.
Yeah.
And I was just happy writing the script. But yeah, they said that they really fell in love with the vision, and to preserve that vision, I had to direct it. So it was really...
Good challenge, and you took it.
Yeah,
and
it was a
delivered well.
challenge. And like what Gian said, like he had his friends as part of the crew. So I didn't know anyone from the industry, but we got really good people, veterans actually, to help me out. And the support of the crew is really essential in making a really good film. So I'm happy with the support that they gave.
Now, Gian, you're a poet, and you've also been involved even in the original soundtrack. You wrote some of the lyrics.
Yeah.
So you've been really hands-on with the music. Tell us about these other aspects of the film.
I guess what was nice with the film is we have this very good composer, Mon Espia. He's the lead singer of the 70s band La Buya. And then I really liked what he did with Transit, and I'm a really big fan of his work.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the songs that they sang will be in the film, so we're not saying what song that is. But other than that, he
surprise.
also wrote songs for this, and it's nice because after writing songs, we were also able to collaborate with vocalists like Noel Cabangon and Shampoo Wipio in the process.
Excellent. And a lot of the films, as your teasers, which is it's on your Facebook page, they're very poetic, in fact, and many of them don't even have dialogue. So these are actually outtakes that you didn't use, no?
Yeah, there are some of the deleted scenes we have from the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of the styles of that the film implemented. It uses lyric moments for contemplation of the characters. The Cinemalaya Monitoring Committee actually branded my film as an intellectual film, no matter how much like I would like to have a dissenting opinion against that. But I'd rather think that my film at the end of the day is about like very intelligent people, but struggling with love and their emotions, and how difficult it is for even the most intelligent people to comprehend the phenomenon that is love.
That's true. That's something we all share.
Yeah.
Now, if there's something Cinemalaya has done for all of you from your individual experiences, what would you say it is? How has it changed you? Ida, let's start.
Well, I think just by giving me a chance. And by pushing me actually to do this, it's really a life-changing experience, and it's not over yet. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
this is
gonna
just
go
the beginning,
on.
my
Yeah,
dear.
it's just the beginning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Cinemalaya is definitely changing my life.
Great start-off point. Mara?
Well,
For your surfing career?
when I'm not working, I'm surfing. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think Cinemalaya gave me a chance to improve and challenge myself as an actress, and to work with amazing directors. And when I'm not working with other directors, it gives me a chance to meet them. Like,
Yeah.
I met Gian during the premiere nights. Like, everyone watches in CCP because it's such an amazing vibe there,
Yeah.
and you just meet all these filmmakers, and some filmmakers from other countries travel too, and it gives you a
Right.
chance to interact with them and meet a lot of people. And I think that's
Yeah.
a great thing with
It's
Cinemalaya.
great that it's now more available in other theaters so that
Yes.
people
Yeah.
can
So
really
see
come
you
and
again
it.
next year, Cinemalaya, for my 3rd year.
I'm sure. Good thinking there. And you, Gian?
For me, literally, Cinemalaya changed my life because I was doing my thesis film. I was still a student when I did transit. And I keep on coming back to transit because I think it really changed my life. Like, after transit, I was able to do this film. I was able to do some writing gigs. And it really changed the direction of my life. I graduated April 28th, and then on the 29th, we flew to
Wow.
Israel last year. And I had different plans. I had completely different plans. I wanted to be a high school teacher in Filipino, but all things changed because of Cinemalaya. Well, also because the positions were filled come April. And then since Cinemalaya, I've had a lot of writing projects. Just recently, we got support from the Asian Cinema Fund for Hannah SP's second feature film, Learning to Build a Fire, which we plan to shoot in Slovakia. And then another one, Carlo Francisco Manatad's first feature film, A Wrong Season, which will be
Wow.
about Tacloban.
Very exciting. Well, a wonderful future ahead of all of you. Now we'll be showing the schedules for both your films now. People can catch this in CCP, Greenbelt,
Ayala Malls.
and the newest one is
Fairview
Fairview.
Terraces.
That's right, yeah. So thank you very much, guys, for being here, and all the best to you, and we'll be seeing you at the Cinemalaya. And that's it for News Cafe. Thank you so much again to my guests, Giancarlo Abrahan, Ida Del Mundo, Mara Lopez, Bibeth Orteza, and Carlos Siguion-Reyna. We appreciate hearing from you on our Twitter and Facebook pages, so keep those comments coming. And if you haven't done it yet, do download the Solar News mobile app to watch News Cafe via live streaming or to catch up on previous episodes. See you next Thursday for another delectable mind brew right here on News Cafe. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Good night. Good evening, I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Welcome to News Cafe. Tonight, we turn to the movies as we celebrate 1 decade of the Cinemalaya Independent Film Festival. We'll be talking to filmmakers from the Director's Showcase and New Breed categories. We start off with filmmakers Carlos Siguion-Reyna and Bibeth Orteza, whose film Hari ng Tondo is a finalist in the Director's Showcase category. Good evening and welcome to News Cafe.
Good evening. Thank you
Thanks
for
being
guesting
here.
us.
And Bibeth, welcome
Yes,
back.
well,
It was great having you.
I'm glad to be here again.
Now with your other half.
Yeah, so I'm the one now who's more comfortable than he because I've been here.
Okay, so you're just gonna lay back. The main character is based on your father, is that right?
No, it's not based on my father. I mean, I had a
Inspired by.
basically what connected me to the project was really my father was a great father, is a great grandfather. And his choices were not the same, and his situation and circumstances are not the same as Ricardo Villena. But it's just the image of my father as
Yeah.
a father and as a granddad that really tightened my own connection with him, and kind of like it was his image that guided me through his relationship,
Yeah.
the way he related to his own children, the way he related to his own grandchildren. that kept me centered on the character
Yeah.
of Ricardo
Yeah.
Villena. Although the situations are different and the choices made are different.
Right. Well, Bibeth, you wrote the script. How did you go about writing this? Were you remembering some of the stories maybe of Carlos, or what were the things that really inspired you?
Well, it's a family story. It's going back to roots and seeing these things. But, you know, the toilet was an open space, but
Yeah.
they love their dogs. So, yung ganong part about yung Tondo na may dignidad is what I wanted to go back to also.
Right.
In the writing
And
of
that
the
they
movie.
fight. I mean, they really. They have their situation, but they will not allow themselves to be, victims.
Right.
Yeah.
So that spirit,
Yeah.
which is, I think, different from, it's a side that is not often featured. Usually, na-feature yung kawawa kami, ganyan. Eh, hindi naman, it's not necessarily like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, you were gone for 14 years,
Yeah.
no?
From movie making.
From
yeah.
movie making,
From
right?
feature film.
That's right.
making,
So what brought you back to this? Is it the story? What exactly
Yeah.
lured you to this?
Well, several things, but I think the story I identified with a lot of the attitudes among the characters in the film. Kasi this film is pretty, the scope is not. I mean, it's small naman, pero because there's a.
Among the things that triggered the making of Hari ng Tondo for me was in about 2 years ago, Carlitos' student from NYU, JP, John Paul Su, he's Philam, but born and raised in Divisoria. He went here to do a movie about a garbage scavenger who was trying to have her granddaughter adopted by a foreign couple, and he chose me to play the role of a 70-year-old woman, and we shot for 4 days in Tondo.
Yeah.
And then I saw a part of Tondo because the Tondo the people think that they know is the Tondo of the mahirap, but the nobility of the people there.
Right.
That part of Tondo where we shot in kasi was a part that was proud that they didn't eat their dogs. Ay, hindi ho kami kumakain ng aso namin kasi mga alaga ho namin. And
Civilized.
Yeah. So,
like,
so mahirap si...
relax.
Yep.
Now, Hari ng Tondo. Carlos, tell us, what is this film all about?
Hari ng Tondo it's really about trying to educate somebody and ending up educating yourself. Okay, this is about Ricardo Villena. He's a grandfather who's just recently lost his money. He's on the verge of bankruptcy, actually. He takes his grandchildren in order to, to make them stronger. They're sheltered because he wants them to be of sterner stuff. He takes them to his birthplace, which is Tondo, and only to find out and to make some painful, realizations about his own history.
Right.
And amidst the cynicism of the attitudes in the Tondo that he thought he knew.
Right.
So it's really learning some painful truths about his own history, why he left Tondo, things that he refused to confront. He finds out there.
Yeah.
So he's trying to educate his grandchildren. He educates himself.
Now, many parallelisms with your life, as you were born in Tondo.